I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my video on ratios. We'll talk about some basic concepts and then discuss multiple choice questions. Now here is the list of multiple choice questions which we are going to answer. You can go through them, pause the video, copy, solve them, right? So here is the second one. We'll take these questions one by one. The idea is to show you what type of questions we are going to do and take about half an hour of your time. If it is worth it, then you may go through this video. I'll also appreciate if you could write some comments, share your views, and also share questions which can help us provide you with better examples. Now, some of these questions may appear in tests like SAT, CAT, or MCAT. Well, so these are some common questions from that group also. Here is a very interesting question which we have treated as a bonus question. Now, let us solve these questions one by one without wasting much time. Already seen the multiple choice question, and now let's talk about some very basic concepts. When we say ratios, we may write it something like this. We may write 2:3 is equal to, let's say 10 is to what, correct? Sometimes we may have ratios involving more than one, right? So 1:2, 3:2, let us say 4 is equal to. And if I give you one of these numbers and keep the two missing, for example, I could have this as 9, then we need to have to find the missing numbers. Now, in every ratio, we have a scale factor. That is very important to understand. So we have a scale factor. Now, in this example, what you notice here is that 2 to 5. Now, that is the corresponding position, right? So, is something which is times 5, correct? So here the scale factor is 5. We'll say 5 is our scale factor. So there in the same ratio really means to find x, we should multiply 3 also by 5. So if I times 3 by the same number, scale factor 5, what do I get? 3 times 5 is 15, and therefore in this particular case, scale factor is 5 and x is equals to 15. Perfect. So that is a very simple approach. Now let's look into this example. Here, how do I get 9 from 3? That's the center value, correct? Corresponding positions you need to look into. So you get it when you multiply by 3. So the scale factor here is 3. Now, once you know the scale factor, other things are simpler. You could do 4 times 3 to get this answer and 1 times 3 to get the other one. So clearly, the answers are, when you do times 3, 1 times 3 is 3 and 4 times 3 is 12. So those are the missing numbers. Perfect. Now, you could also solve these questions. Let me take another example. Let's say 3:4 equals to I've written 5. We'll get some decimal values. Okay, 5 is to x, for example. You could also write these in the form of fractions. That is to say, we could write 3/4 equals to 5 over x. And in such questions where it is kind of difficult to get the whole numbers, we could find the answers by cross multiplication. So here we'll talk about a strategy which is called cross multiplication. So scale factor is one of the very interesting and useful strategies. On the other hand, if you get stuck with such situations, you can cross multiply, and so we can say x is equal to, bringing it there, we are left with 5 multiplied by 4 over 3, right? So we do get some answer which is 20 over 3. Leaving it in that form is kind of okay. Perfect. So these are the basics about ratios, and now let's begin to solve our questions one by one. The very first question which I have taken here, we have mixed ratios with percent. Now we saw how ratios and fractions work. Similarly, ratios also work with percent. Ratio of boys to girls in a class is 2:3. That means boys is to girls is equals to 2:3. What percent of students are boys in a class? Now here, what is important to see is that there are how many total students. Let's figure out. If the ratio of boys to girls is 2:3, we know 2 boys out of how many students. That is important to figure out. So sometimes we are just given 2 ratios, but we are interested in the third number also. So what I will do here is see this question as boys is to girls is to total is 2:3. Now total is sum of these two, right? So we could write this as 5. Correct? So basically 2 boys out of 5 students. Once you figure this out, the total, right, which is not given but it is understood, it is easy to find percent, right? So the percent is 2 boys out of 5 students. That means the percent is 2 out of 5 times 100. Correct? 2 out of 5 times 100. Now this could be easily simplified. 5 times 20, and the answer is 40%. Option C is the right option. You get an idea. So at times we look into percent where it is part over whole. So we have to figure out what is the total amount or the whole. Perfect. Okay. Now we'll talk about geometrical figure, which is a triangle. If the angles of a triangle are in the ratio of 1:2:3, then sum of 2 angles cannot be what? Okay, let's just sketch a triangle, right? So I'm just sketching a triangle at random. We are saying ratio is 1:2:3. Think about angles as multiplied by x. We could also write this as x is to 2x is to 3x. Does it matter? I mean, it's the same thing, right? So here clearly x is scale factor. Is that clear? Now this scale factor helps us to find the answer. How? We know sum of angles is 180. So we know that x plus 2x plus 3x, that is the sum of angles, has to be 180. So this is 6x is 180. So x is going to be 180 divided by 6, which is 30. So if 30 is x, then the angles are what? 30 times 1, 30 times 2 is 60, and the third one is 90. Now we're talking about sum of 2 angles, right? We're talking about sum of 2 angles. Cannot be, right? So cannot be. That is important. Now if I add 30 and 60, what I get is 90. If I add 30 and 90, what I get is 120. And if I add 60 and 90, I get 150. So what I don't get is C. So 130 is the sum which you cannot get in this situation. Is that clear? Okay, now here is a slightly difficult question. I would like you to pause the video, copy this question and really do it. I hope the concepts are absolutely clear. So we'll label this as a very difficult question, right? So we are going to a higher level kind of ratio questions. Now it says a bucket holds 4 quarts of popcorn. So we have a bucket, we'll call this as B, and it is equals to 4 quarts, Q for quarts, of popcorn. Okay. if 1/3 cup of corn kernels make 2 quarts of popcorn. So now the second statement here is if 1/3 C for cup equals to 1/3 cup of corn of kernels make 2 quarts. That makes 2 quarts. Right? How many buckets can be filled with the popcorn made by 6 cups? So we need to find if we have 6 cups, how many buckets we get. That is what the question is. So it is kind of relating two different types of ratios. Perfect? But I hope it should not be very difficult. Now from the second equation, we can write that each cup, if I take 1 cup and cross multiply, I get that is equals to 6 quarts. You get an idea. So each cup is 6 quarts. So how about 6 cups? So 6 cups will be 6 times 6 quarts. Right? Now we also know that 4 quarts is a bucket. We want to find how many buckets. Is that okay? So you could do that with 6 quarts, we get how many? We got 36 quarts. Right? Now, 4 quarts is 1 bucket. So what is the relation with the bucket and quarts? 1/4, right? So each quart is equals to 1/4 of a bucket, right? So each quart is 1/4 of a bucket. So that means we have to do this as 1/4 of 36. So many buckets. Do you see that? So that gives you 36 divided by 4 as 9 buckets. So option B is the right option. Did you see that? So I did it slowly in steps so that you can see how at times we can relate more than one ratio and get our solution. So if you follow and kind of get a rate, right? So what we have done here is kind of found rate, right? So per piece or per item. Now it could be quarts, it could be kernels, or it could be buckets. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let's move on and take a few more questions now. The question here is, a bag contains red, blue, and green balls. So we have 3 types of balls, red, blue, and green. The ratio of red to blue balls, so let's write down the ratios now. Ratio of red to blue is 3:2. And the ratio of blue to green, okay, so blue to green is 4:5. So as you read, if you write down like this, you save time. Now time is critical for any multiple choice test paper. Right? That's what we are trying to do. Now the question is, which of the following can be total number of balls in the bag? So we want actually the sum of all this, right? We want sum, that is total. Okay, now to get the total, we should get same kind of relation. Perfect. So here we could get a scale factor from 4 and 2. Correct? So if I make this as 4, if I make the balls as 4, in that case, the red balls will be 2 times 3, 6. Do you see that? And we know the green is 5. And if I add all this, then the sum of this is sum signature. Sum is 15. Perfect. 15 is the sum. That really means that the number should be multiple of 15. So we are looking for multiple of 15. Now without calculator, it could be difficult. So what you could do here is, you could do, you can just try out some numbers, right? 150 is easy number to go, 15 times 10, right? So next, add 15 to it, you get 165, which is an option. So that is the perfect option for you. So don't get into dividing these by 15, right? So estimate. So what we did here is simple estimate. Since we know these are in hundreds, we have got some number. So if I do 15 times 10, I get just 150. It is more than 150. So we tried adding 15 to get our number. We got 165, which matches. Did you see that? So it's a very important strategy which you can apply to solve ratio questions. Now here is another one which says a 42 centimeter long wire is cut into two pieces. So the total length here is 42 centimeters. If their lengths are in the ratio of 3:4, so one is smaller, let's say. So the ratio is 3:4. Find the length of longer piece. We have to find the length of the longer piece. So how long is this one? Now in this case, what strategy should you use? Well, the total is a critical parameter here. So add 3 and 4, what you get is 7. So that means that their multiple of 7 is the solution, right? So how do you get 42 from 7s? We know 7 times 6 is 42, right? So that gives you the answer. The bigger one here is 4, so we'll do 4 times 6 and we get 24 as our answer. Option B is the right option. Correct? Now, let me go through it once again. If 3:4 is our ratio, we could write this as 3x is to 4x, right? Any multiple of 3 and 4. And we know that this sum, that means the total length is 42. So we'll do 3x plus 4x is equals to 42. Perfect. So we know 7x is equals to 42. X is equals to 42 over 7, which is 6. Now once we know that x is equal to 6, we know we are interested in the longer wire. So it is 4 times 6 is 24. So that could be another approach to the same question. Straightforward. So apply the method which you feel is better for you. Now let's move on and take up another question. I'd like you to pause the video now, take some rest, and then continue. Now here is a very tricky question. So let me give it a rating of slightly difficult question. Find the ratio of x and y if 6 is to 8 equals to 15 is to x and 4 is to 10 is y is to 15. Correct? So that is the question for you. Ratio of x to y is that what is x over y equals to, right? So that will give us the ratio. Perfect. Now one way, of course, is to figure out the ratio as, we have 6 is to 8 is 15 is to 3. Since 15 is not a multiple of 6, we could reduce this side. So this could be written as what? Dividing by 2 gives us 3:4. Perfect. And now we can look for scale factor. Now the scale factor here is 5. If I multiply 3 by 5, I do get 15, right? So this is equals to 15 is to 5 times 4 is 20. So we know x is 20. So we got 20 for x, right? Now let's find what y is. Now in this particular case also, we have a factor which could be done like this. We could reduce this side to 2 and 5. So that is important. Getting back to lowest terms. So here, what we are trying to figure out is get the lowest terms. Right? And then look for the ratio, the scale factor. 5 times 3 is 15, right? So 5 times 3 is 15. We'll do 2 times 3 and we get 6 here for y. So the numbers which we're looking for is 20 over 6. We don't have 20 over 6. We could simplify this. right? So dividing by 2 gives us 10 over 3, which is same as 10 is to 3. So we get D as our option. Now this is one method to do it. Now let me show you alternate method. Strictly speaking, I could write them as fractions. So it is 6 over 8 equals to 15 over x. And the other one is 4 over 10 equals to y over 15. Now what we could do, looking into this, we could just multiply these two. You understand? These are two different ratios. Perfect? So if I times them both, what happens? I get 6 times 4 and 8 times 10 on the left side. On the right side, I get 15 times y. Let me write y. And we get 15x. Let me write 15x. Now here, 15 and 15 cancel. What are we left with? We could simplify this also, taking this 2 times and this 3 times. So what we get here is y over x is 3 over 10. Since we need to find, going backwards, x over y, we need to flip it. And we get 10 over 3, the same answer. So at times, you could adopt this method also. Perfect? But I think both are equally good. Now, let's get into more operations with numbers to get the ratios. If x is to y is 1 is to 2, find 3x plus 2y is to 2x plus 3y. Okay. Now here, my strategy will be to write x and y in terms of one another, right? So we know x over y is half. So I could write this as 2x is y. So we could replace y with 2x. Perfect. Since I found that y is 2x, what we are going to do here is that in this particular ratio, we are replacing y with 2x. So if I do that, I get what? Let me show you on the right side. We get 3x plus 2 times 2x. We are replacing y with 2x. Is that clear? Is to 2x plus 3 times 2x. That is to say, 3x plus 4x is to 2x plus 3 times 2 is 6x. So we get 7x is to 8x, and the ratio is 7 is to 8. Option D is the right option. Do you get it? Now these are the type of questions which you might just get in your exam, entrance exam to a good university. Now here is a bonus question for you, which is extremely difficult, right? So I'll give it rating of 3. The question is, if quotient of sum and difference of two numbers is 3 over 4, find ratio of these two numbers. So here, some difficult words to understand. Quotient, right? So you are dividing one by another. Quotient of sum and difference. So what we will do is, let the numbers be P and Q. Now let's do it. So quotient means we have something in the numerator and divided by something in the denominator. Perfect. If quotient of sum and difference, that means sum is in the numerator, so we'll add these two, P plus Q. And difference means P minus Q. That is equal to 3 over 4. That is given. Do you understand what is given? So this is what is given to you. This is what is given to you. What do you have to find? Find the ratio of these two numbers. That means you have to find what is P over Q equals to. Now I hope the question is absolutely clear. You can pause the video and answer it. And here is the best way to do it. So what we will do here is that P plus Q, I will divide everything by q. Since I want p over q, so I get p over q plus q over q. It is 1, right? So we get p over q minus q over q, which is 3 over 4. We know that, correct? Now, you can see we are interested in p over q, right? So what we have here is p over q plus 1 divided by p over q minus 1. You get the idea, right? Since we are interested in p over q, we'll keep it as such and cross multiply, right? So at this stage, we'll cross multiply. So what do you get? If you cross multiply, you get 3 times p over q minus 3 equals to 4 times p over q plus 4. Now we want p over q. Let's take this 3 times p over q to the right side and 4 to the left side. So we get minus 3 minus 4 equals to 4 times p over q minus 3 times p over q, which is p over q. So we get our answer, which is minus 7 is equals to p over q. Is that clear? So option D is the right option. So I hope that helps you to understand the concepts. Now, some of you may have learned the property of componendo and dividendo, which could also be applied here to get straight answer, right? Okay, but we'll actually stop here as an exercise to understand ratios and solve questions based on ratios, which could be part of your entrance exam to some good university. I'm Anil Kumar, and if you like my videos, then it'll be great. Share them with your friends and subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching. All the best.